Hi, welcome to episode 74 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode's show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop, The Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And we have a group on Ravelry called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you haven't come over and joined us, please do. So hi, how are you? I hope you have had a wonderful week. Mine has been kind of busy and crazy, and I've been crafting to try and get a bunch of things done, and I am feeling really inspired. The work was okay this week, nothing too big to talk about. The weather has been nice. It has actually been, it was a little chilly earlier in the week and rainy, but it has been in the 40s and 50s here this weekend, which for us is warm for this time of year. I went to another Mrs. Wilson's knitting circle yesterday. And we talked about the role of World War I, both back in World War I and also its ongoing relevance today, which was an interesting and thought-provoking discussion. And then I went out and spent the afternoon knitting with some people that I went with, which was fabulous. It was like an extra version of knitting group this week, which was great. Today is chores and kind of getting some stuff done around the house. When I am done here, I have some packages to pack up, and we have some grocery shopping to do, and we may even try and take a walk outside. It's still a little chilly, but it's nice enough to get outside, and I don't know what the weather will bring in the next few weeks, so we thought we'd take advantage of it. I hope you have been having a wonderful week. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. I hope you enjoy the episode. And if you are coming back, thank you for coming back. And I'm glad to see you. So let's get into what we normally talk about at the top of the episode, what I am drinking today. This one I have not very much information about. It is a chocolate orange tea and it smells delicious. And this is about all I have. This was a tea that I received in a lovely exchange with Danny of the Little Bobbins podcast, and it smells amazing. You can see chunks of orange peel in there, and it smells chocolatey. And today I am drinking it in one of the pottery mugs that I got the last time we went to the Renaissance Festival, and apparently I am all blues today. That seems to be the theme, but I didn't think about that as I picked it up. And this is from a place called Always Azul Pottery, and they're out of Colorado. I will try and put a link in the show notes to that. And this is chocolate orange tea from Danny. Thank you, Danny. And that is delicious. I expected it to be. It's got a real good dark chocolate taste and lots of tangy orange. That is delicious. So let's move on. I have actually several finished objects, which is very exciting. I have a knitting nightmare, something that did not turn out the way it was supposed to. A couple whips that I'm getting close to finishing, and I am dreaming of new projects. So let's start talking. The first finished object that I have to show you today is actually something that was almost finished last week when I talked to you, and I finished it that evening, so it was ready to go. This is the Breaker's Cowl. This is by Holly Yo, and it was a pattern in the Tempest collection for Sweet Georgia. Obviously, their pattern had it made out of Sweet Georgia yarns. I made it out of Woolfolk Far in grays and black. And there were a number of interesting things about this. It was a new to me cast on, a new to me stitch, and a new to me bind off. It was the cast on was double long tail. The stitch was double garter stitch, and the cast off was I guess it was just called double cast off. And so this is knit lengthwise, and it's got this really interesting kind of cabley stitch pattern, almost a little herringbone-ish. And then actually the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is you seam the two ends together, and that was using a construction that I had never seen before. And I thought that was kind of interesting, and it gives it kind of a nice look. This is super, super soft. I can wear it as an eternity loop, or I can go ahead and double it, and I've got a huge squishy cowl, and it is so soft and fabulous. I actually have a skein left over of this lightest color here. I think it's like a dove gray, and I am going to make a hat to match, so I will be all matchy-matchy, and I have my new set, but I did finish this on Sunday, which was my goal. And so this has been done, and I know we'll have a few more cold days before the winter is over, so I look forward to wearing this then. So that is another one for the books. It used about 700 yards of yarn, so that was nice to get that out. It meant that my yardage last month was incredible for leaving the stash, and that was great. And then the only other point of wrap up that I don't think I mentioned last week was for I had started this year saying I wanted to do a no buy at event unless I was at events and such, and for the month of January I bought no yarn. Now I did receive a little bit of fiber in because of fiber clubs, but I bought no yarn, and I knit up or otherwise disposed of almost 4,000 yards. So that was a real banner of a month, and both this project and the shawl that I did, the Vita shawl, those were both from fairly deep stash, or at least stash that had been here for over a year. So I was excited to get rid of those. Or not get rid of those, but turn them into something, use them, and get them out of my stash. So that kind of wraps up January, and then we can talk about February. I started the week by doing one more hat. I was trying to do just one more to get for the 25,000 Toques project. I am getting a box ready tonight. And this is the Gather hat by Tin Can Knits. I believe it's available for $5 or $6. I got it free during her 12 days of Christmas when she was doing free giveaways. It's got this cool smocked stitch, and then otherwise it's just kind of a regular hat. This is Ella Rae Classic Superwash Merino in the olive colorway. You might recognize it. I used it for some charity blankets and some other things, but I thought it would make a nice cheerful hat. And so this is the fourth hat that I've knit. I have a total of 6 that I am donating, and then I have another 6 from members of my knitting group. So we are going to send a dozen hats to the 25,000 Toques project this week, which makes me very happy. So this one is done. I will be labeling all these hats and getting them ready to go this evening. And I've got a big priority mailbox. I'm going to stick them in and mail them out tomorrow. So that was the first finished object of February. The second set of finished objects is pretty darn small. I wanted to knit some Puffy Hearts for some swap packages, and this is the, checking my notes here, the Love You Forever pattern by Tanis Lavallee, and it calls for using sock yarn scraps, and as you can see, that is exactly what I did. This is the Baron Vola Barefoot in Wild Orchid that I knit the baby sweater out of, and this is some 2If by Hand Holly Holiday that I have had for a while. I knit a shawl out of it, and these are super cute. One of these is going to Roxy and her Valentine's Day package, and one is going into another Valentine's Day swap that I am doing. So these are ready to go. They took about an hour a piece. The pattern I found was super easy to follow and super easy. The only issue that I had was, so you start at the bottom, and this is a free pattern, so I'm not going to worry about giving anything away. You start at the point at the bottom and continue to work your way up, and then you separate for the two halves of the heart. And the only problem that I had was right in the middle of the heart. That left me kind of an open hole that I had to sort of whip stitch closed. And then these were a little fiddly because they're small. I might be inclined to try them again at some other point, maybe using some worsted weight yarn because they might be a little bit bigger, but they're super cute and I like them. And then I just put a little polyfill inside, so they're little puffies. So yes, that is my second, or I guess second February finished object and a little Valentine's Day themed. The third, so that's those. I guess the other thing that I finished is I talked last week about wanting to knit Roxy some slippers. And I found this cute little pattern that had these little felted, almost boot-looking slippers. They had like cuffs on the top. And the pattern came in adult, child, and toddler sizes. And I thought that was great. And so I went ahead and followed the pattern. And I was a little nervous because they were felted. And so I was a little nervous about getting the sizing exactly right, but I knit them in Cascade 220 doubled in leftover scraps, and I went ahead and followed all the instructions and felted them, and this is kind of a little bit of a knitting disaster. Now, I followed all the instructions, particularly as pertains to the length of the slipper. The instructions, and again, this is a free pattern, so I'm not going to worry about this too much. The instructions said to knit to about half an inch longer than the desired foot length before you start the toe. So the resulting slippers are actually perfect in terms of length, but I have another problem. They're like the size of my face. These are so wide, and the length shrunk up perfectly. This is about 6 inches, which is, I need 5.5 to 6 inches for Roxy's foot. So the length is perfect, but look at how wide these are. You could fit both of her feet in here. Like, these are wider than my socks and slippers. They're probably about the same size as my felted slippers. So this is kind of, I sort of call these things a knitting nightmare. I can't really trust this pattern, at least as far as the child sizes. Like, I probably should have had half as many stitches, but I don't really know what I'm going to do with these. So, I finished those. I felted them. I was all psyched because I was ahead of the game and I was going to pack this up this weekend, and I tell you what, these are not usable. They might make good pot holders. I could fit my hands in there, so we could use them for that. Yeah. Not pleased with this one. I will put the name of the pattern in the show notes. I wrote some notes on my project page about how this wasn't a very well written, or this didn't result in what I needed it to. Yeah. So Roxy still needs slippers. So when I got home from knitting yesterday, I realized I had about 24 hours to turn around slippers. And so I went and found the Simple Garter Stitch Slippers by Hannah, and I am going to butcher her last name. It looks like Levanimi, but I don't even know if that's the case. This is a whip because I've only knit one, but these are these cute garter stitch slippers, and then you do a slip stitch with a crochet hook in a contrasting color. So the yarn I used for these, again, is the Baron Vola Barefoot Sock, which is a superwash merino, and this is in the colorway Wild Orchid, and this I held doubled. And I had to improvise a little bit on this pattern too, which made me feel a little ill because I was thinking, oh God, is this really gonna work? Because the pattern is written for women's... Well, she says a women's large. So I had to decide how many to cast on and how to exactly make this work. This is a free pattern. But I got what I think works. Again, I am at like between 5.5 and 6 inches on this cute little slipper, which is the size of Roxy's feet. And I'm sure it will stretch a little bit because it is sock yarn. And then to be honest, I don't even remember what this color is. It might be Volmai's DK in Magnolia, which I knit a cowl out of, but honestly, I can't remember, but it works perfectly. I only had a tiny little ball of it left, but it is the perfect complementary color. So this is the first slipper. I need to knit the second slipper tonight, and then I have some puffy paint, which I am going to paint on the bottom of these so they're not too slippery, and these are making me squee because they're so tiny and cute. Anyway, So these are Roxy Slippers. We'll hope that these fit, and I need to finish them and puffy paint them tonight so that I can send them out tomorrow. So that is one, and hopefully I'll have a second one by later this evening. So the final work in progress is something that you have seen before, and I am bringing back, and I am bribing myself to finish them. I have no shame. These are my mom's mittens. If you'll remember, I finished the first one, I think back in... Well, I know I worked on these mostly over Thanksgiving. I think I knit the lining in December when I was off work. This is the first. It's the Fiddlehead pattern by Adrienne Bazilla. The colorway is More Blues. It is, the dark color is Bugga in the Sanguine Griffin Bugga in Blue Lobster, and the lighter blue is my handspun. And then on the inside, I lined them with, this is Malabrigo Lace Weight, which is the softest yarn I have ever felt. And that is in the emerald colorway. So this one is complete, minus a blocking. This week I set my mind to doing my second mitten, and I am very close. This is the second mitten. It still needs, as you might notice, a thumb. It needs ends woven in, and then I need to knit the lining. But I am pleased that I sat down and just put my mind to it and cranked this out this week. I hope to, well, the thumb is on deck for tonight. I need Roxy Slipper and a thumb. And then my plan is to do the lining on Monday and Tuesday. I might start it tonight if I have enough time. I want this done this week. So I'm hoping I will be able to finish it Monday and Tuesday so that then I can cast on for some new things. Like I said, I am not above bribing myself to get these done. The first bribe was that I can cast on a sweater. I am going to wind up the yarn tonight, and maybe if I finish the thumb and start the lining, I will let myself swatch for the sweater tonight, but the sweater is not allowed to be cast on until these are done and blocking. The other thing that I bribed myself with is I have this really cute hat, and I wanted to make some matching mittens, but I actually didn't knit the hat. It was a gift to me, and I didn't have yarn for the matching mittens. So my bribe to myself was that when I finished these, I could order a skein of yarn off of D-Stash, which matches the hat, to knit myself a pair of mittens. So I actually am allowing myself to break my no-buy in February, but these have to be finished first. So, goal, finish these, wind yarn and cast on for my new sweater, and order that skein of yarn. So my next upcoming projects will be a sweater and a pair of mittens, and I will talk more about those next week when hopefully all of these things are done. So that is what I have been knitting. Let's move on to the spins. Oh, and I completely forgot to show you something that I meant to show you in the tea section, so we'll retrace our steps really quickly. I found this online this week, and well, a couple weeks ago, and ordered it because I had to have it. This is from Tovolo. I got it on Amazon. It is a sheep tea infuser. It's got the holes for the tea in the bottom. I didn't take it out of the box so that I could show you, but it is a sheepy tea infuser, and that just made my day. I have that really cute ducky tea infuser that I use at home, which was a gift from a friend. This one I am going to take to the office so that I always have an infuser around, because if I forget my infuser mug, then I am stuck using the paper filters, and I just feel like those are a little wasteful, so I want to go ahead and use my tea infuser. And it was a sheep. How could I not? So I will put a link to that in the show notes as well. So let's jump to spinning. Last week I still had some singles on the bobbin of Hello Yarn. I just hadn't gotten a chance to ply them up. I plied them up after I talked to you. And I finished it, and it is a wonderful dark and moody skein. This was Hello Yarn Falkland. It was a special order in the Ghastly Silence colorway, and actually the colors in that are showing pretty true. It is a black a little bit of navy. It's got golds in it. It's got some teals, which you can see kind of right up here. It's got real dark teal over and almost black. And then it's got some pops of that real light mint green kind of right here that you can see. This is a dark and moody skein. It is fluffy. It is about, I think 350 yards, and it is, it could definitely be worn next to the skin. It is a lovely skein, and it is up in the shop and has not been spoken for. So that is what I finished last week. Then I talked to you about the 2 braids that I was going to spin, and I spent a lot of time talking about how I was going to spin them and ply them to get that cable 4-ply. I was right. I did not finish this week because everything was crazy busy. I did finish the first set and ply it. That is my 2-ply that will eventually be in a 4-ply. I have not pulled it off of this bobbin because this time I think I'm going to ply from the bobbins. I don't normally do that, but I'm going to have to move to my mini spinner because this is 4 ounces, and then I'll have another 4-ounce bobbin. And I also didn't really want to wind off of this bobbin because I overplied the heck out of this so that it would, when I ply it the other way to get my cable ply, I would have some extra give. And I just decided I didn't want to pull it off and wind it in a yarn cake. So I have one of the 2 plies. And then I finished the singles last night, and you can see I have poor bobbin management skills. I do not have a woolly winder that lines up the bobbins, so I am responsible for moving the hook when I am ready, and I have a sliding hook flyer, so I don't have to like move 2 different hooks. I just have to slide it along, and as you can see, I got distracted. We were watching TV, piled more on one end of the bobbin than the other. These are the singles. I am about to wind these off into a cake and do another 2-ply bobbin, and then my hope is that tomorrow I can cable ply these. So look for pictures on Instagram. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yarn yet. I don't think it's destined for the shop. I suspect I'll probably keep it and try and do something with it later, but we will see what kind of yardage I get, what it looks like, what I feel like when I get done. But that's my plan for the next couple days, is ply this to 2-ply and then tomorrow night cable ply. Which brings me to what I will spin this week. This one you have actually seen before because I had a second braid and I spun it a while ago, but I decided to pull out the first one I spun a while ago, and this is the second one of the set, and I decided to spin it again. It is from Skein Yarns. This is Superwash Merino in the Meadow colorway. It's coming across a little bit bluer on screen. It's very green, and it's got a few pops of like yellow and some white in there, and it is a beautifully nice skein, and I will be pleased to spin this week, and this actually will be destined for the shop, so if this looks like something you'd want, speak now, or wait and I will post it in the shop. Hopefully I'll have this one done next week. It probably won't be ready to go into the shop next week just based on the fact that I'm going to finish up this one, the Clawed Horrors, this week with the cable 4-ply. But this one will be on the wheel then, and hopefully I'll have most of it finished to show you next weekend. So this one's a little shorter, but I think that's about all I have to talk about. We are still doing the Selfish Knit Along, which goes till February 15th in the Ravelry group. Remember, you just need to knit something for yourself, and it can be knit. I say knit, but I always mean multiple crafts: knit, spin, weave, crochet, sew. And you just need to submit a picture of the finished object in the finished objects thread. We had a lovely, delightful prize donation from one of our group members. She donated, that's Vinka Kent on Ravelry, and she offered to donate up to $7 pattern prizes to 2 lucky winners. So thank you. And that is a wonderful prize. And then that is the one thing that I forgot. I was going to pull some yarn. I have a beautiful skein of white alpaca. I believe I can't remember the yardage, so I'm not going to say anything and misspeak, but it is a beautiful skein of white alpaca, and I will show it on next week's podcast. Next week's podcast will be on the 14th, which is Valentine's Day in the US. but will be the day before the contest ends. So I will show you the prize next week, and then I haven't decided. I might go ahead and award the prizes after the 15th and not wait for the next podcast, since that's a whole week. But I will make a decision and let you know for sure next week and show you that prize. So I hope that you have enjoyed the podcast. I have certainly enjoyed sharing all of my finished items with you, except for the one that didn't turn out so well. But I guess it's important to share that as well and chalk it up to the learning process. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And until I see you again, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.